and welcome back at Adobe live from the OFF in Barcelona. It's really great to have everyone here, and especially to have you here, Christoph.
Hi, thanks, Melanie. And I'm also happy for the invite and that I had the opportunity from Hector given to present my latest book, The Age of Data, on stage yesterday together with incredible Refik Anadol and Flo Ortkress from Random International.
I've seen the presentation, and that's why I'm a little nervous today, I have to admit, because the work there is great, and as you said, The Age of Data is your latest book. I got it yesterday. I spent all night reading up, so I hope I'm really good and well prepared here for this. But Christoph, you're art director, designer, author. You got quite a lot of things on your list.
Yeah, but it all leads to another, because as working as an art director as a freelance art director in many different agencies and also many different fields like branding, web design, spatial installations, and so you always have to use different techniques in order to come up with a concept or with a new form, language and stuff, and all of these impulses, then I collected them, and this led then to my first book, which was called Analog Algorithm, which is a toolkit or a manual for helping architects and graphic designers exploring new forms, new pattern, new typefaces, so everything along the horizontal of graphic design. And this book came out in 2019. It was published by Lars Müller Publishers, who at the same time did a re-edit of the famous Karl Gerstner's Designing Programs, which was the milestone of the pre-computer era from 1964. And my book was, so to say, a modern interpretation of graphical solutions. I transferred a bit into the formal language of techno. So this was the first book, like a compendium of what ideas have been collected and then being put into this book, yes, so to say. So working as an art director inspires me making books I want to read as an art director.
And actually, it's something people really do, because I spent a bit of time at your booth yesterday, and people were feasting their eyes with your books, especially the first one you had. It's simply beautiful, and I love the historical, like the story behind it, and that it has all the design history in it.
Yeah, because it's always important that you know where you're coming from to proceed and go on. And so this is all about the idea of what has been happened. So every generation has to make explorations and draw their knowledge from something on their own. So we can have a look at the promotional reel of the first book, Analog Algorithm, done by Florian Renner. I will start it. Full size. Now.
Wow, what a teaser for the book. Incredible.
Yeah, thank you so much.
And I see the chat is there too, and very happy about that. Hello, Jessica. She says it's awesome, of course. We see it here on screen. In case you have any questions for Christoph, shoot, I will just forward them. And Christoph, tell us a bit about the style of this book.
No, so as we have seen in this clip, it reminds a lot of Stanley Kubrick's 2001 Space Odyssey, which was also temporarily located in the 60s, end of the 1960s. It was a vision of Kubrick, what will be 2001. And at this point of time, when the movie was produced, there were simply no computers available yet. So he used the technique of showing screens as a backlight projection. And so this led then to the idea of the layout for the book, because I wanted to have this technical aspect, and I had the idea to show every page layout as it could be a screenshot from 2001. And by accident, there was this typeface from Tim Hutchinson called Sentinent, which was a formal interpretation of the IBM typeface used for 2001. So it appeared to be released in the same year by Paul McNeil. So I had the same typeface as used in the clip, in the film, and so it was a concept, a right concept.
It's a very, very solid concept, I would say. And as we see, you have all those patterns, and you mentioned Gerstner before, who worked or tried to program design. For me, it's always hard. You know, if you're an artist, you try to go broad and you try to go crazy. Yours and Gerstner's approach was quite the opposite, to structure.
Yeah, because this comes from the idea that you have all of these artists which were the OGs of the data-driven design in the 1960s. They are all coming from the concrete art movement, you may know from Duisburg or Max Bill. So this had the idea that emotions are excluded, and a mathematical approach, intellectual approach, like Müller-Brockmann also says, is the level to go. And so you have to imagine that Gerstner was drawing millions and millions of squares in his office and searching for the right shape or form. And so the computer was a very welcomed tool of form generator, because it was a means of controlling randomness, so to say. And these iterations of form shaping or permutations are shown in this book as a how to do and as an impulse.
Very nice. And one has to know that Gerstner had no access to computers, whilst you did. And we see now a lot of things are changing. Everything feels even more accessible and even more available. So designers today could basically go crazy with all kinds of stuff.
Yes.
How important is it to know the past to create the future?
Yeah, as I said before, when I was doing this book, I remembered also Vera Molnar, who is an icon in this field. For everybody who's interested in, you can Google the New Tendencies exhibitions. There were 5 exhibitions during the 60s and the 70s in Zagreb, Yugoslavia, and these people were the starting point of the whole movement, so to say. There was a collective called Graph, and these people also said they simulated having a computer. They said machine imaginaire, so I imagine working on a computer and doing the iterations by myself. And this was also the dogma for this book. So I made everything not in a generative, processive way, but I had the dogma to do everything analog. So all the graphics were done in Illustrator.
Wow.
and then compiled in InDesign. So I was once asked if I can drop the Git repository for this book, and I said you can have a Illustrator file. So because it's a different approach. It's an approach of understanding forms and compositions. So and here you see that these techniques from the past, imagine that you have a computer, also count today. If you look at the work of Refik Anadol, he just turns this around. He says not that man is imagining being a machine. He lets machines dream, and this is a very high level of conceptual art.
It's a very good transition to your latest book, The Age of Data. We talked before, I love to call it the art of data because that's how I see it.
So much art in it.
It's beautiful, but the age of data, was it just a reasonable step from the first one to the next one, or what happened in between and brought you to this book now?
Yeah, it was simply that when the first book came out, Analog Algorithm, in 2019, I got in contact with a lot of people and had many conversations, and also there was the interest of how colleagues or friends in different fields of creativity are working or using algorithms in their stories. So I approached people from the three-dimensional field or typography, music, also very interesting. And I came up with a treatment until the end of 2019, beginning 2020, and at the Tokame conference in Munich, I then met Brandon Dawes and Joel and introduced them to the concept, and they liked it a lot. But then 3 days later was the lockdown, so everything was gone. And I used this situation that this isolation of everybody. So there were no more exhibitions. There were in some fields no more jobs. So everybody had literally time except watching Tiger King on Netflix. But so we used this time to come up with the Zoom calls, and I interviewed in the end 40 different artists and designers and made an anthology of what is a snapshot of what is at the moment possible in the fields of data-driven design, pushed by the pandemic, so to say.
So you pretty much managed to do the impossible to collect 40 artists who are very, very busy.
Timeline originated also, and because you have to at this point of time now it would not be possible because everything is getting started again and rolling on, and exhibitions are taking place and so on. But this was some kind of isolation or a time capsule of 1.5 years, and there the book was being made.
Which makes it even more special that we talk here today about it, because it's like the first time everyone's out again, people get back together. Was there an approach in the book or an approach from the artist in the book that sticked out to you, how they maybe perceive the future or can picture it? Or how humans interact with data? Or
now you can, at one hand you can have a look at Random International, for example, which is also in the book. I had a conversation with Hannes Koch. It's also interesting how different the conversations were going. So before the pandemic and I started to work on the book, I had flights to London to interview David Sheldon Hicks and Tina Tooley, but then everything was closed, and we switched to Zoom on the one side, and we developed a format called written conversation, so to say. We installed a Google Doc file, and everybody was typing in no matter when. So I was writing questions at 2 o'clock in the morning, and Hannes was answering them or even adding questions. So we generated a text over 2 weeks, and this was perfect. And Random International has the approach of a human-centered art, so it's so to say post-digital. So the digital is like seamlessly around the visitor, and the visitor is becoming a calculated randomness, completing the whole installation. Like if you look at Rain Room, so this is the best example of a use of data-driven art. But it does not feel like art, it does feel like the controlling the forces of nature. It's also very interesting.
It's one of the great examples you have here, but it always plays with humans being in a real physical space. Where does this go? Because there have been so many talks about the metaverse, and is this something we will really do, or are we staying here, next to each other, having a nice chat?
I think it will be some hybrid, or like David Sheldon Hicks of Territory Studio. We saw the lecture of Marty yesterday from Territory Studio San Francisco, and they say that the next big paradigm shift will be the physical being overlaid with the digital, so you have this hybrid situation, like we saw in these examples yesterday of the center point of a three-dimensional camera movement, and he says that this is like going from the Gutenberg Bible to the photography. It's as big as that. So it's a new playground for creatives in the future to have some seamless interfaces around you.
Do you think this is something people have to grow into, or is this something you can start to learn now?
Because I think we are already learning it as you look at how we are working and operating with our iPhone. So you already have some inspiration of that. Or if you look at the project which is in the book. From Daito Manabe, he made a music video for Warp Records, Square Pusher, Terminal Slam. So the protagonist sets up Google Glasses and he eliminates all advertising or stupid semantics of the city and customizes the look of the city to his wish. So the city looks like a Square Pusher town. So this is an example of how you can imagine the future could look like, but who knows?
Who knows? No one really knows, and it's good that we talk about it. We will save it forever on the internet, and who knows? Maybe we go back at some point, like we did with Kubrick before, and we say we knew already.
Yeah, because as you can see, the ideas always in the human mind, perhaps always are a bit the same or comparable, but the technique is evolving and always adjusting, and so you can have a guess what will come next. Or it is also, as we look at the post-digital projects of Hannes and Flo, you have also this movement of tech resilience, that people are fed with looking in a screen, and they want to have the digital around them, like seamlessly weaved or woven. It's called woven in the environment also. So this is the vision I think it can go to.
Yeah. That's also what everyone in human-computer interaction looks forward to, the ubiquitous computing.
Yeah.
But well, let's see. We have a bit of time until we go there. Whilst we have a lot of time, we definitely need to get that in. Let's have a look at the second video you prepared, because this explains the book very well, and we need to show that. We talked a lot, and this explains it perfectly.
The hardware, the software around us are constantly changing, and the data becomes a new language between machines. But as humanity, I think we have to learn this language as well. I believe art is a form of expression, form of explanation to really create a common language around these narratives.
where my focus is on exploring the relationship between sound and form. My aim with my work is to enhance the sound with the visual and to heighten the experience of listening to music by creating a symbiosis between the two.
This book is a snapshot of what is happening in the field of data-driven design. What new tendencies are appearing on the horizon? Like an elevator, we look at this evolution along the vertical and we see a wide range of variety of disciplines, from graphic design to robotics or immersive experiences that transcend space and time and dissolve boundaries.
Data is information. Data is knowledge. Data is motivation.
I have to say, every single video blows my mind.
So
One is
thank
better
you.
than the other. We only have a couple of minutes left, so maybe a bit of a last summary, because we have the book here and it does not only look amazing, it has all the lovely projects in there. This publisher is Nigli.
Yeah,
And-
it's a classic graphic design publisher from Zurich, also publishing Armin Hoffmann or Müller-Brockmann. And I had the possibility to choose this fantastic publisher to support me in this field. And thank you, Nigli.
Well, you talked about publishers, but now it's time for everyone online and of course here on site to get the book. You've just seen a bit of a preview, but it's definitely worth getting it, and it's an insane inspiration. I can't wait to have another look tonight once we're done here, but I think first we will go for a drink to celebrate this lovely OFF. We have a couple more interviews to go for you. Emma will be back here with lovely guests, but Christoph, we have to say goodbye for today.
Thank you so
I'm
much.
so sorry and so
a
sad that it's
pleasure.
already over. Let's have a chat later, and thank you everyone online for joining. Have a good day and bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Data